every year there's stories and things like that as well. Alshon's was certainly chaotic in a lot of ways, and I may or may not have promised him that we were going to unretire Sterling Sharp's jersey if he signed at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
He's like, if you want to transfer, to Georgia or Florida or whatever, you can do that. We're not gonna withhold you from transferring to a rival. And I was like, coaches, look, man, I don't really give a shit what you're saying. I came here to play for you. I came here to play at South Carolina. I want to be here.
There's a lot of reasons that we're working really, really hard to bring a championship to South Carolina, and one of them is, for you guys as former players.
Luke was giving us what he did from a prehab standpoint, getting ready, getting in the hot tubs, and then after practice, his routine. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm like, welcome to the NFL, buddy. That's the only way you're going to stay around is if you do all that stuff, and they're getting that now.
When you brought a cooler out and like set up everything out in the courtyard and drank beer, is that right? And did that result in a suspension, or was that just a slap on the wrist?
That was a suspension, and it's actually funny. Boy sitting next to you was over there.
Welcome back to Tailgate Talks with DiMarco and Garcia. We're super excited for this upcoming week's episode. We have a super exciting guest, a guy who's been around Carolina football for quite some time, holding the realm down now as the head coach of our university, and that's Coach Beamer.
I mean, it's going to be interesting, man. I think this is a huge year for him coming up. I think a lot of people are underestimating us a lot, so I think that bodes well for him, and playing. We talked about it, him having a chip on his shoulder, him kind of having coaching staff that has chips on their shoulders. So I think when their back's against the wall, I think that's when Coach Beamer's at his best.
Yeah, I mean, when this show airs, we're going to be 3 days away from kickoff, so Saturday in Williams-Brice Stadium is going to be an exciting time against ODU. It's I know the Gamecock Nation, the fans are going to be jumping. Tailgate environment's going to be wild, and you're coming up, so it's going to be extra wild. So should be a lot of fun, and I know that just from his, we all three were here together, which we're going to talk about on the show. We all three were here together from 2007 to 2010. Shared a lot of really fun experiences and stuff back then. Beamer kind of dives into some of his recruiting time here at South Carolina, goes through some of that, talks a little bit about the season preview. A big thing with him, and you and I both felt it, was how much former players mean to this program and mean to him.
For sure.
Which I thought was super cool. I mean, in his initial press conference, we were two of the probably 15 former players that he shouted out by name for the support, and us doing what we could to help push him to get here. And dang, I'm super excited that he's here and he's running the show.
For sure. I mean, it's always great to catch up with Coach, and I live in Tampa, so it's I don't have that much access to him, but when I go up there and I'll text him, he texts me back immediately, and I always get a chance to hang out with him. So it's pretty cool having a coach that, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to respond back to me one bit, but for him to do that and for him to come on our show as two former guys that, just starting this thing out, I mean, it's pretty badass for him to do that.
No, I mean, he's always been that genuine. I think that's why the players want to play for him so much currently right now. That's why we wanted to play for him back in the day.
Sure.
I think that he just brings kind of the tight-knit, I believe in you, like, let's go do this together. This isn't just you and me. Like, we're collectively going out there trying to get in. He's very intentional, and he does
for
that.
Sure.
Current players, former players.
And it's hard to do in this current environment with the NIL and transfer portal and all the other stuff, man. It's a testament, man. We had, Boogie and Luke Doty as the first, guests. And for those guys to still stick around and to hear how mature they were, I mean, I'm still talking about it. It was really impressive. I think that's the testament to Coach Beamer's, style and, what he's about.
Yeah. I mean, we heard with Coach Spurrier, his sense on NIL and transfer portal, and we talk about it a little with Coach Beamer on this week's episode. So excited for people to not only hear Coach Spurrier and what he was talking about with it, but also like current day and what Beamer's living through with this stuff now. So it's going to be a super insightful episode, and excited for the Gamecock Nation and everyone listening to this to get some insight on what Carolina football is going to look like this year.
For sure. I think it was pretty cool, getting a chance to talk to him about, what kind of influence his dad had. His dad's a Hall of Fame coach. I didn't realize that he was at Georgia and, these other schools. I had no idea that he went over there. I just thought he was at Oklahoma. but for him to reference all the other coaches, who was the guy at Mississippi State? Maurice Crum or Crum?
Yeah, Crum.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea he was over there. So, I mean, for him to just kind of remember and take those lessons from all these other coaches, these legendary coaches that kind of inputted into his DNA and, the team's DNA, I think that was pretty cool.
Yep. And then he talks about Coach Elliott being back on staff and having other coaches with head coach experience. I mean, Beamer's not shy about talking about his team and the team he's put together in that building. He knows it's not a one-man show. He knows it's collectively. It takes everybody to make the ship run. And
right.
I think the ship is getting ready to blast off here on Saturday. And, I'm excited. I'll be there with the whole family. I know you'll be up, so I'm excited to see what Willie B's like. And going into 24, it's definitely a big year for Carolina coming off not making a bowl game last year. But I think the sky's the limit for this team.
For sure. It's people better get excited, and I think these guys really need to give a reason to be excited with this game. And I think what I'm talking about. They got to put it to their ass on this weekend.
I mean, statement game, and then
light up the scoreboard,
leading into Kentucky the following week. So this is a game where you kind of put your foot down, and teams have been sleeping on them. So it's time for us to tell the rest of the SEC and the rest of the country to wake up on South Carolina.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so pull up a chair, grab a beer, and get ready to listen to Coach Beamer.
All right, we're super excited here to have Coach Beamer on the show. I mean, a man who's known us for quite some time and means so much to this program. And, I mean, this is what year? This will be 17 years that you got here to South Carolina for the first time and back for the second go-around. And it's been a heck of a time.
Had some great moments, many more to come, and certainly fired up to be on with you guys. Love what you're doing and appreciate you asking me to be a part of it.
Of course. I mean, you're the reason why this thing's going around at this point. We just want to reminisce on times talking with our old teammates and having some of your current guys on, which, and if you listen to the Boogie and Luke episode, like stellar human beings. I mean, the recruiting process you guys had with them, you guys really hit the mark with those kind of guys. So, I mean, I think would love to just kind of reflect on some of our times, 2007 and 2010, stories there. And, I mean, Stephen is the story himself of most of that time. So, Stephen, let me hear what you got.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pat hit the nail on the head. I did not realize it's been 17 years. That makes me feel real young at heart. Jeez, the white. But, yeah, I mean, Coach, just thinking about back from those, days, what sticks out the most, to you, back in those, and I guess you could say the glory days that we had back in the day, and what do you think?
Yeah, so much. I mean, it was obviously an awesome time for me personally. My wife and I, we got married summer of 06, and then we took this job in 07, so we moved to Columbia. This is the first place we've ever really lived as a married couple, and we got 2 children that are born here while we're here, but then I'm around some really good players like yourselves, great guys, and then just to see kind of how we just slowly built it and got better every year. Recruiting classes, more and more talent coming in, great wins leading up to that 2010 season, tough losses going into 2010, but then putting it all together in that 2010 season with you guys where we play for the, SEC championship and just what a big deal that was, how you guys are remembered in Columbia, and I tell recruits that all the time. I mean, just how you guys are still thought of here is just a great testament to what Gamecock athletics and Gamecock football is about. And then I think back to, I mean, part of the reason that, I got this job was because of my time here as an assistant, obviously, but it was also because of the relationship I had with so many of you guys and the way that you spoke up on my behalf when this job was open and things like that as well. I mean, the great coaches are surrounded by great players, and as an assistant coach here during that time, I was surrounded by some great players like you guys.
Well, I mean, what you did, not only as a football coach, but as a human being, like you meant so much to all of us during our time, that it wasn't hard when we heard that you were being considered for the job for us to want to jump on the table for you, because we knew who you were as a man, who you were as a football coach, who you were as a husband, who you were as a dad. And that's like the family culture, like that's where you win.
Yeah.
And those are the real home runs that you end up hitting. So you meant a bunch to us, and that's why as soon as we heard that, we're like, we got to get this guy to Columbia, South Carolina, because he's going to build this place back to where it needs to be.
And I'll tell you what, one of the coolest things, Coach, and I think I told you this when we were talking about, trying to get you, in the driver's seat over here, was that you still had the 803 number, even though you were not here for a couple of years, man. Having that same number, and we talked like we just talked, in 2010. So, it just kind of, it's I don't know, it's a really good feeling to have a coach that respects you enough to kind of respond and keeps the same number, and that's big time. At least in my experience, man. You didn't have to respond to me one bit, and for you to do that, I thought that was pretty damn cool.
No, I appreciate it. No, you guys are a part of my coaching journey, and that's the best thing about being a coach is just the relationships that you have with players when they're coming into your program, but then also as you finish up playing football, and now you guys, are older and starting to have families of your own and things like that as well, just being able to keep in touch with guys and all that as well. I mean, when I left South Carolina and then went to, Virginia Tech and then Georgia and then Oklahoma, it wasn't like I stopped following you guys and what you were doing. You're a big part of my life and a big part of my football journey as well. So I appreciate you saying that, though.
I remember all the messages you send me, either text or on social media. Hey, dude, big game, saw that play. It meant a bunch.
Yeah.
But it's funny to think, like everything that we achieved. I mean, Stephen and I have talked about it. In 2007, we were 6-1, number 5 or 6 in the country, going into playing Vandy, and we ended up losing 5 in a row. So I mean, I know everybody wants and expects kind of the standard upward trajectory, but man, growth is in the pits and the valleys and the uphills and downhills. And I mean, we experienced it. I mean, we were number 6 in the country, didn't make a bowl game that year, and then went 7-5, got our butts kicked in
Tampa.
Birmingham.
Tampa.
Yeah, it was Tampa.
Yeah, I'm trying to forget both those bowl games.
No, it was Tampa, then Birmingham.
Yeah, but I mean, I think a lot of that sparked the growth of the team, and going into 2010, I mean, after the 2009 season, like we all had a pit in our stomach. We went and got our butts kicked in a bowl game. Didn't achieve as we should, and that's why we went and we grinded that off season. I remember that was Fitz's second year, so he had us for 2 off season. He was able to really dive in, and you guys developed us as coaches. You had another stellar recruiting class. Ended up bringing in Stephen's replacement from a quarterback standpoint in that class.
What an ass! You just had to bring that up.
Pat's exactly right though. Like the adversity that from 2007, and I can remember we went up to Chapel Hill and we won an ugly game up in Chapel Hill. We're 6-1. And then we didn't win a game the rest of the year, and lost to Vandy the next week. Had a bunch of penalties and just didn't play well, and didn't finish the season the right way. And then 2008, 2009, you're slowly getting better as a program, like you're talking about. But I know Liverpool was here a couple weeks ago, and I did actually read a book on like Liverpool and how they turned around their team and all that as well. And I shared it with our team the other week that they talk about in that book that Liverpool came together as a team because of all the shared adversity they dealt with, and they were like hardened and closer because of that adversity they went through, and then it all took off and they won the whole, whatever it is, Premier League or whatnot. I think it's kind of the same thing with you guys. Y'all were hardened by some of the adversity you went through. The talent kept getting better, recruiting classes kept getting better. And then in 2010, it was very much a veteran team that was led by the players in so many ways, a bunch of talented players, and it took off.
Well, you guys did a really good job, and I guess it probably pissed Stephen and I off at times, but you brought in really good players behind us to try to take our job. So I think Stephen and I knew that if we weren't grinding our tails off in the weight room and studying extra, that we were going to get surpassed pretty quick. So, I mean, kudos to you bringing in all the talent. And continue to develop us.
You're talking, Coach, you're talking about Andrew Clifford, right? You're not talking about Connor?
Cliffy, stud.
Shout out to Cliff.
Clifford.
No, but I mean, you look back at those recruiting classes. I mean, you bring in Alshon, Marcus, Stefan, Melvin. I mean, some of these guys that are, still playing in the league right now. I mean, that's a pretty good testament to the way you recruited. I mean, DJ Swearinger. All these guys, it's just a testament to the kind of the culture that you kind of wanted to have and Coach Spurrier wanted to have. And, Pat and I were considered the old heads back in the day. back in those times. I mean, I think it was a pretty good, pretty special locker room, and I think that's a testament to, who the caliber players that you recruited. I mean, Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, right?
No, spot on.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. There's a great bunch of guys, y'all know better than I do, there weren't a lot of issues, and that's what Coach Spurrier believed in, was bringing in good people into the program and coaching them up, as he would say, and that's what we all tried to do.
I mean, I think a big thing is what we've also seen in the last two recruiting classes here during your time. So you guys are keeping the best kids in the state of South Carolina in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And us keeping Marcus Lattimore, Devontae Holloman, Stephon Gilmore, even going right across the border in North Carolina and bring those guys down. Mm-hmm. So keeping the local talent here. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to watch some of these young freshmen that you have coming in this year and watching them produce from South Carolina. Yeah, no, it's been a point of emphasis for us to be able to do that, to keep the best players at home. I mean, it is what it is. We're not a very big state, mm-hmm. population-wise, and therefore when you have a smaller population, you're not going to have the number of SEC football players coming out of the state each year that maybe a bigger state like a Texas is going to have. So what you got to do is you got to do a great job of keeping those guys here. We were able to do it during y'all's time, mm-hmm. and then the day I got hired, it immediately became a point of emphasis on us that we're going to start in South Carolina first, and we've been able to do that, with Marquis Anderson and with Lenora Sellers, mm-hmm. and in this year's class, Cam Pringle and Josiah Thompson and Mazio Bennett and Blake Franks and on and on and on. Kelvin Hunter, there's a bunch of really good players that have come out of South Carolina the last couple of years, and we're always going to start here and do our best to keep those guys right here, in Columbia. Well, I mean, times have changed.
I was just about to ask, has there been any other crazy recruiting stories like Alshon where you have to fight off somebody that tells him he's going to be pumping gas for a living?
Yeah. It's recruiting, still recruiting. The thing that's different now, Stephen, is there's so many less limitations in the communication part of it. You know what I mean? Like when y'all were coming out, I'm going to make y'all sound old. I don't even think text messaging was really a thing.
Dial-up internet.
Yeah, and yeah. I mean, I remember thinking I was recruiting Alshon. Like there were certain times of the year where I could call Alshon. Other than that, I either had to write him a handwritten letter or email him. Like email was legal, but like texting, if there was such a thing, wasn't. Alshon Jeffrey wasn't checking email, I can assure you. No. So that's probably the biggest thing is it's just like there's so much more, nowadays we can text and call kids, young men. It's unlimited. I mean, guys that are juniors in high school right now, if I wanted to pick up the phone and call them 20 times a day, I could. Mm-hmm. And we weren't able to when we were recruiting you guys. So that's one thing that's changed, for sure. Every year there's stories and things like that as well. Alshon's was certainly chaotic in a lot of ways, and I may or may not have promised him that we were going to unretire Sterling Sharp's jersey if he signed at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I've come to find out Sterling didn't know that and didn't appreciate me doing that as well. That's why he wore number 1. But there were a lot of great memories and then and now as well.
But I think a big piece of keeping the in-state kids in-state is also with the portal and NIL and all the stuff now is like the loyalty to the program. That's why Stephen and I wanted to start this podcast is because we love this place. We want to give back in some way, shape, or form. And bringing in-state kids in here, talent that know the program, know you from your 4 years here, and know a little bit of history. I mean, it sits in their hearts and souls a little bit more than, a kid from California that comes to South Carolina. Like the loyalty's not necessarily there as much.
No question. You talk about, to me, in today's time of college athletics, college football specifically, the best teams year in, year out are going to be the teams that are able to retain their roster. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be able to keep your roster intact year to year more often with guys that are primarily from this area. Yep. You look at this year's team. Luke Doty, been going 5th year in our program. Tonka Hemingway, 5th year in our program. Boogie Huntley, 5th year in our program. All got TJ Sanders, 4th year in our program. All South Carolina guys, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but all South Carolina guys that are invested in this place and know what it means to be a Gamecock. Man, that's what Luke Doty's told me. I mean, he's had opportunities to transfer other places, and every year that comes up, I don't want to go anywhere else. I love it here. I'm a Gamecock. I want to be here. I want to live here the rest of my life, and that's why he stayed. So certainly bringing people in. Not that the out-of-state guys don't, because Ja'Kai Moore and Rashawn Lee are going into their 5th and 6th year in this program.
Yep.
They're invested, but more often than not, you know, if you're able to keep these best players around, they're going to want to stay here.
Yeah, well, I think what you're doing is you're hitting on their heart when they get here, and not that you even have to win them over, because this facility is absolutely incredible. But the culture you've built here, you know, family, love, all the things that are harped on, like that are felt in Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturdays that the fans feel, like the players feel a heck of a lot more here in the building.
No question.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, it's a hard place to leave unless they ask you to leave.
How many times were you asked to leave?
Well, ultimately one. The other 5 were asked to just sit out for a little bit.
Take a break. Take a break, Steve.
Yeah, take a breather.
Yeah,
Hey, but I mean, at the end of the day, and this is something to, you know, kind of piggyback on what you guys are talking about. I remember having a meeting with Coach Reeves, if you remember Coach Reeves. Coach Reeves and Coach Spur, they called me into their office. I guess that was after the 2nd suspension, and they were like, "Steven, look, man, like this might not be a good fit for you. If you want to transfer, we're not gonna." This is back when you weren't allowed to transfer like inter conference. He's like, if you want to transfer, you know, to a Georgia or Florida or whatever, you can do that. You know, we're not gonna withhold you from transferring to a rival. And I was like, coaches, look, man, I don't really give a shit what you're saying. I came here to play for you. I came here to play at South Carolina. I want to be here. So, I mean, I'm not transferring anywhere. I felt like Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not freaking leaving. So, you know, you guys thought I was going to slip there for a second, but yeah, I mean, it's just a testament to the city. And, you know, now that, as Pat just harped on, the facilities now are light years ahead of what we had. But I mean, it's like, you know, Pat and I are still best friends. It's unbelievable.
You didn't like the Roost and staying in East Quad, and
I mean, I actually did like it. I mean, we had a freaking blast. I mean, it's pretty obvious we did, but you know, I think that really gelled us as a team. Is just, you know, guys were just constantly around each other at East Quad, and we had to eat together. We had to do pretty much everything together, and I think that was, you know, kind of what helped us kind of gel.
Yeah, well, I think it also goes into with our conversations with Luke and Boogie of the access to everything that they have here. They don't have to leave. Like during training camp, Luke was giving us what he did from a prehab standpoint, getting ready, getting in the hot tubs, and then after practice, his routine. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm like, welcome to the NFL, buddy. That's the only way you're going to stay around is if you do all that stuff, and they're getting that now.
No, and I wanted that. Like when I got hired, I wanted to make this program, make this facility a place that guys didn't want to leave after the season to go somewhere else, or at the end of the day, they didn't want to leave to go home or wherever. They enjoyed being here because they had everything they needed, football-wise and relaxation-wise. And I love that aspect that you see players up here in this building all the time when they don't need to be as well. Hey, speaking of the old dorm too, because every time I drive up Blossom Street, I always laugh and I just think about that dorm. When it was after a spring practice where you got in trouble the one time when you brought a cooler out and like set up everything out in the courtyard and drank beer, is that right? And did that result in a suspension, or was that just a slap on the wrist?
That was a suspension, and it's actually funny. Boy sitting next to you was over there. He was right next to us.
No. That was when I was out of town. I was never in town when you got suspended. It's the best thing I ever did for this university.
But yeah, it was after spring game or spring practice, and yeah, I had no idea that it was a dry campus. So we're just sitting out there, and you know, we're throwing water balloons at people, and you know, just drinking beer and
just doing normal stuff on campus.
A cop came up and he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I was like, I'm 21, man. I'm allowed to drink." He's like, "Yeah, this is a dry campus." "Oh, so what does that mean?" "It means you can't drink on campus." I was like, "All right, see you later, man." He's like, "I don't think you understand like what's going on." Yeah. So I talked to Coach Spur, and he goes, "Yeah, you should just put it in a spray can." And I was like, "What?"
That's what he did. From the bus every single game.
Yeah, no doubt. Great advice. I love it.
Yeah.
It was an awesome spring day in South Carolina. I get it. I never was really sure exactly the whole deal on that.
A lot of stuff happened on those wood bricks sitting right out in front of East Quad. A lot that we're not proud of, too.
For sure. But I mean, as it all comes back, man, that's how we gelled as a team. We did a lot of stupid stuff on those bricks, and when we moved off campus, we had a lot of house parties, and it's funny. I remember Coach Mangus and you yourself actually were like, "Yeah, we're not giving Garcia a recruit to host, but make sure you have him come over to your house party later." And I'm like, "Man, you guys can't pay me the $10 as a per diem or whatever it was."
Yeah, well, I think that might have been Mangus. I don't know if I ever put you on hosting probation. I don't remember doing that. If I did, I apologize. But I knew where to send them to get the players. But that's more important than ever too, though, with just the portal, and every year is different. I mean, we got 40 new players on our team this year when you count freshmen, transfers, all that. And we've talked about it a lot, Steven. Like, it's more important than ever for our players to get together and do things outside of this building as well. And doing that in the spring and the summer and throughout the season as well. I mean, it's so critical.
Did a community service event with a couple guys on the team about a month ago over at Camp Cole, and I asked them how all the off season was going and how the team was growing, and they were like, "Pat, we are more connected as a team than we've ever been," and that comes from doing stuff in the weight room together, doing stuff outside of the facility, doing team activities that you guys. So you guys went whitewater rafting and playing basketball, and all that little stuff. I mean, I remember when I was in Atlanta, we had a couple Navy SEALs come in there. They put us through like Navy SEAL training. And I mean, you wanted like a bunch of ginormous offensive linemen, incredible shape, linebackers, completely die and not want to do football or training anymore. I mean, but like suffering like that together. I mean, what's the saying? The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed more. So the more you can grind it out and get calloused. I mean, Saturday in Williams-Brice Stadium, you got 80,000 people screaming your name. Like, it just lets you know that the guy to your left and your right has got your back at all points.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to pivot here. Like, growing up as a coach's kid, I mean, your dad, I mean, obviously, what an incredible career. I know he's around a decent amount and all that, but how did that shape you into the coach that you wanted to be, the husband, the father? I mean, with Emily, Sutton, Olivia, and Hunter, I mean, you saw it firsthand what being a coach is like and kind of taking that forward and raising your kids and your family.
Shaped me so much, being around it, obviously, growing up as a kid and all the cool things I got to experience being the son of a coach, that I realize how fortunate my kids are now to be able to experience that, but also understanding the I don't want to say negative, but the things that aren't so great, the sacrifices that I make where I'm not around them as much as maybe I would like. You know, the hours this job is and the travel for recruiting. There's sacrifices you have to make. As they've gotten older, it's tougher now if we lose a game and they go to school on Monday. You know, some of the things they may hear about their dad. I heard the same thing when I was in high school. You know, so understanding what that's like. As well. You know, for the first time last year, we had some struggles, and, you know, one or two of the kids would say after a loss, "I don't want to go to school on Monday now," you know, and just being able to talk to them, because I was in the same situation when they were their age. But then from a coaching standpoint, it's helped me as a husband and a father, because I saw it firsthand. And then just from a coaching standpoint, it shaped me in so many ways. Just my dad and his consistency, the way that he handled his coaching staff, the way that he handled his team. Probably in my mind like him in so many ways from that standpoint, or I hope to be, or hope I am at least. But it was great, you know, and it really made me appreciate this too, just and I've said it so many times, just the thin line between winning and losing, like how detailed and minor that is. You know, I mean, it took him to his 7th year at Virginia Tech to go to a bowl game, and now he's a Hall of Fame coach and the winningest coach in Virginia Tech history. His 6th year, they won 2 games, but they led or tied 6 games. They won 2 games, but they led or tied 6 games in the 4th quarter. Next year, the whole team comes back, and they won 9, you know, because they found a way to finish those games in the 4th quarter. So just realizing, you know, what a thin line it is and how close you are to winning or losing every single Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's one play and 200 throughout a game that can potentially make it or break it. I mean, and kind of diving in more on that, I mean, you were at Georgia Tech, Mississippi State, here, Tennessee,
Georgia,
Oklahoma, Virginia Tech. Like, coached under a lot of badass head coaches too. Like, what have you? I mean, obviously, you're a badass head coach here, and you've helped build this program back up. But what have you taken from certain places that you've been and like been like, I need to implement that. I want to implement that. I can introduce this at some point.
Yeah. No, great question. I've been fortunate to be around so many great coaches, and I feel like I've taken a little bit from all those different programs. You got to be you. I work for Philip Fulmer at Tennessee. I can't act like Philip Fulmer and pretend to be Philip Fulmer, but I can take certain things from him and whatnot. Same thing with Coach Spurrier. A little bit from all of them. I started out with George O'Leary at Georgia Tech. For that one, that was probably just the detail and every little thing you do as well. Coach Fulmer at Tennessee was my next stop. The importance of recruiting.
Yep.
You know, Tennessee, you were in a state at the time, it had very few prospects per year. The population wasn't what it was or is now with Nashville and some of those places growing. So Tennessee had to go out and recruit nationally, just seeing the importance that recruiting is and how involved the head coach has to be. Sylvester Kroom was my next coach that I worked for at Mississippi State. That was a great experience, just first full-time job in the SEC. He was a guy, you hear coaches talk about, well, we're in it for the players, we're in it for the kids. He truly was, and he wasn't going to sacrifice anything to win football games that would take away from the experience the players had. Came here next with Coach Spurrier, so much, but probably the biggest thing that resonated from that time is just how every team will somewhat take on the personality of their head coach, and I saw that with him. I mean, I can remember. You guys, I don't know if you guys, I can remember the day we played Florida down in Gainesville. The winner's going to go to the SEC championship in 2010. And we stay down in Ocala, and I'm coaching special teams. Urban Meyer's running the special teams. I'm nervous as heck. And it's a night game, and I remember looking outside my hotel window, and he's laid out by the pool with his shirt off, just hanging out by the pool. And I'm like, you know what?
Must be nice.
Yeah. If this guy's like that confident and has that swagger or whatever, I should be okay too, type thing. Now, they ran a kickback to start the freaking game, so clearly I didn't do a good enough job.
Andrew DeBose.
Oh, my God, yeah. But just that, the personality, the swag, the DJ Swearingers, all that, you know, there was just a confidence that he carried himself with that resonated with our players, I think. And then my dad, you know, kind of the same thing. It was a great experience for me working for him after growing up his son and playing for him. And then Kirby Smart and Lincoln Riley were awesome experiences because both those guys were first-time head coaches, you know, taking over a program for the first time and having a chance to be with both those guys in either year one or year two and seeing how they did things really helped me when I took over this program.
Yeah, and then you take over this program and college football gets flipped on its freaking head.
Blown up.
That's what I was just about to ask. I mean, is if from back then to like right now, I know you already harped on or mentioned something about the recruiting, but like moving forward, like as far as keeping these guys with NIL, with transfer portal wide open, the landscape of college football it's night and day different. I mean, I got kids these parents are asking me like, how do I get my son recruited to South Carolina? I was like, man, you got to, first off, you got a ball.
Yeah, Friday
Secondly,
night.
like, I don't know what recruiting is nowadays. I really have no clue how this process is done. I mean, so that's pretty much my question is like, how has the landscape of college football changed with the introduction of NIL and the transfer portal?
Yeah, it's so much. It just in the short time that I've been a head coach, it's changed so much. And it changes like every month, every 6 months, every year, there's something new that you got to navigate, whether it be recruiting calendar or roster sizes or transfer portal, NIL, revenue sharing. It's like all this stuff is coming at you and it's so new and you're trying to navigate it for the very first time. You know, the good thing is everyone's navigating it for the first time, so we're all learning as we go, whether you're a guy that's in year 4 like I am or a guy that's in year 20-something at their program. And I think that's the biggest thing. You guys, Coach Spurrier used to always tell me, Beamer, just be flexible, my man, be flexible. And that's true, you know, and I got to remind myself all the time because I'm I'm a structured, organized guy. That's just my personality, and it's hard because so much is changing. But at the end of the day, though, Stephen, like what recruiting hasn't changed. It's still about finding the right kind of people you want in your program, making sure they're choosing South Carolina for the right reasons. And then when they get into this program, and what y'all just said is so true, like, it's still, you got to play well to get recruited. And so go play well on Friday nights and we'll find you. It's easier now than ever to find you because of the access. There's no more like mailing a high school coach a DVD and asking him to like send the video back. I can pull up on my phone and watch somebody's highlights in 5 seconds. So that helps. And then get guys here that want to be here for the right reasons, and then hope they have a great experience while they're here and coach them hard and develop them.
I'll tell you what, I saw this, I think it was Phil Knight with Oregon. What did he say he's going to pay in our NIL program? Like $40 million a year, something like that. Did you guys see that?
It's something crazy. I know that.
And we were able to go toe-to-toe with him and bring one of the biggest recruits ever here to South Carolina
history. We've won some battles there for sure, so we need to continue to do that as well. But you go back to Nick Harbor, and it's because of the relationships that he developed here, you know, with our people as well. And you know, I get it, NIL's a part of it, but it can't be the only reason that a guy's choosing
I agree.
School. Otherwise, it's not going to work well for anybody.
That locker room would get torn to pieces.
I mean, I was here for 2 years on staff, and I remember going through the recruiting process and being here for the weekends and all that, and everything that the parents and the kids kept harping on is I felt like I was home. Like the welcome home tag. I know, like, at first it was like, wow, this is like, obviously you're coming back to South Carolina, but then seeing what it truly meant and how the program and the people of Columbia and the state of South Carolina have truly embodied it. Like, usually those quick little slogans are in for a year or two and they die out. But I mean, I mean, on Twitter too, every time I see welcome home, I'm like, boy, coach.
No, that's what we want it to be. I want it to be feel that way for everybody, that it feels like home and they are home, and that's where that came from, and always want it to be that way.
Well, you've done a badass job for us as former players coming back here. You've kept the doors open at all times for us whenever we want to come back, giving us access to come in and even share with some of the current guys. It means a bunch to us too, to come back here. You guys have the former player locker room. I showed Steven to it. We were locked out for some reason. His access card didn't work.
That's not me, Steven. I don't. I'm not sure. I'll talk to the people above me. I did not do that, but it is though. This is y'all's program. I happen to be the head coach of it, but I said it when I first got hired, and we'll always say it. You know, you guys built this program, and I'm blessed and honored and grateful to be in this position. But you guys are the ones that built this, and I want nothing more than to continue to build this program and make this program one that you guys, I know you're already proud, but so proud of because of the way we handle ourselves on the field, but the success we have on and off the field and the championships we bring to Columbia. You know, there's a lot of reasons that we're working really, really hard to bring a championship to South Carolina, and one of them's, you know, for you guys as former players.
We got a taste of it. We won first ever SEC East, played in an SEC championship game, played in bowl games 3 of my 4 years here. I mean, we know what this place is like when we're winning. I mean, you've won 8 games just a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So, like, what's going to happen when this place really turns around and you get this thing rolling like it already is? It's like it's going to be incredible, especially with the facilities and the stadium stuff. Like, it is. I mean, living here in Columbia, South Carolina, I'm fired up to see it all.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, and we're getting closer and closer every single day. That's what really excites me.
All right, let's talk a little bit about season preview. I mean, we haven't been here. You've seen the work that's been put in the weight room, spring ball, all that stuff. Like, who are you most excited for this year? What are you most excited about? Like, give us a little bit of what to expect this year. Yeah,
I'm excited about what those players told you a few weeks ago when you were talking about the community service event, because they're right. There is not that it wasn't in years past, but just a connection with this year's team. It's pretty special, I think. I'm excited about the number of older guys that we have. We got 30 players on our team right now that were here in 2021. My first season as the head coach, that they're in year 4 now of being in the program with this staff, me as the head coach. And then we've got a lot of guys that are on either year 5, and then Ja'Kai Moore's year 6. So a lot of players, older guys that are invested, great leaders, that are really understanding this is their last go around. They want to make it special, combined with a really, really talented group of freshmen. And that's what I'm excited about. It's a bunch of just really good dudes that have worked their butts off since January, have high expectations, have a high confidence level about this team, have done everything that we've asked since January, and are eager to get to work. So that's what excites me. Is just overall that, and then obviously a bunch of really good players and whatnot.
Coach, what does it bring to the table having Coach Elliott's crazy ass back on staff? And I mean guys like Travian Robinson. I mean, those guys are, some of my favorite people on this planet, along with yourself, man. You guys, I think you are building a really, really special staff. I mean, if you want to go into detail about bringing those guys back on staff.
No, absolutely. I want people here, Stephen, that believe in this place like I do. And I want people here that know what this place can be, and that we don't have to take a back seat to anybody. And we have the resources that we need to be successful. And being average is not what this place is about. And they have high expectations to win championships because of what this place means to them. I'm one of those guys and whatnot. Sean is from South Carolina. And he loves this place, and he's been here. The three of us were here, myself, Sean, and Travian, when we were competing for the SEC championship as well. So Sean being back has been great for our tight ends, for our overall team, for the offense, for me, just having a guy, that head coaching chair is lonely. And to have somebody that has been in that role before has been helpful. He and Mike Furry both, and Mike Shula, who's on our staff right now. And then Travian's fantastic. Travian looks like he could still play, probably could play.
There's no doubt.
And he coaches his guys hard, without a doubt, but no one will ever, ever, ever question his passion for this place. Mm-hmm. And he believes in this place, and it's personal to him. The more you can have guys like that, the better.
He's got 3 boys.
For
Are you
sure.
recruiting them yet?
Not yet, but they're not far.
I mean, with Kiki running track and Travian.
Exactly. No, they're all going to be athletes here for sure.
Better be wearing garnet and black.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Coach, I did not realize that Coach Shula was on staff. He actually recruited me when he was the head coach at Alabama.
Wow.
So I've known him for a while. He was not a huge fan of my long hair or beard or my verbiage during practice that much.
But other than that, he loved you though, right?
He loved me as a player, yes. But
He's been great though. Yeah. He's been great working with our quarterbacks, and he had been in Charlotte with Cam Newton, a bigger quarterback like our quarterbacks are this year. He was in Buffalo with Josh Allen, a big athletic quarterback. So he's brought a lot to the offensive staff. And then, like I said, he's a great, great human being and has brought a lot, to me personally as well.
Yeah, no, he's solid with the quarterbacks for sure. I liked him. I couldn't shave my beard or cut my hair, as you know, with Coach Spurrier giving me a hard time literally every day. So I'm a hard-headed guy, Coach. I think you're aware of that.
Well, there's a lot of perks of being a head coach in South Carolina, isn't there? And one of those is we got some really good golf in this state.
We do.
Can you dive into some of the perks that you've had of reaping the benefit of being the head coach here on the golf course?
I love golf. I'm fortunate that I'm the head coach in the SEC, where we live in a great state with beaches and mountains and golf courses as well. I don't get to play nearly as much as I would like. I literally play, off and on from February to July, and not a ton. But certainly when I am able to play, I'm able to get to some cool places, because of so many friends, South Carolina donors that invite me to play golf, fundraising, whatever it might be. So love that aspect of it. Wish I could do more of it.
Yeah. Did Coach Spurrier ever get the Augusta National membership?
I don't think so. I think that was always a rumor. I don't want to speak for Coach Spurrier. Maybe he did and whatnot, but I believe that was always a rumor, but I could be wrong.
Somehow negotiate for Steve and I and yourself, since we're
a 3-way membership.
Yeah. Can we pull that off, you think?
I don't know. I don't think we can.
It doesn't work like that.
I don't think that's how it works.
Shirts must be worn on the golf course at that place, Steven. I don't know if you know that.
Well, then, and shoes too, I'm sure. Yeah. I can't play then.
Awesome. Well, we know you got a bunch to do. We're about a week out from beating the heck out of ODU and rolling this year, so appreciate you taking the time and reminiscing with us. Steven, you got anything else for him, or?
Love you, Coach, man. You're one of the good guys, and we're always going to be rooting for you no matter what, come hell or high water. And I'll see you at the game, man. I'm flying up there on Thursday, and I'll be there till late Sunday. So
Sweet.
We'd love to
Hootie and the Blowfish that weekend. You going to one of the shows?
I'll figure out a way to venture over there. I'm
Sneak his
sure.
way in.
You got to be there. Nah, but love you too, brother. Appreciate all you've done for me and everything you're about, and fired up for both you guys as y'all start this venture. And I know a lot of people are excited about it, and rightfully so. So look forward to following you and hope to be on again soon with you guys too.
Yep, we're going to try to get a live tailgate at one of these games. I think we're thinking, let's not disclose the game that we're going to do, but we're going to get a little
Love it.
open mic, and hopefully we'll keep you to a beer limit before that happens.
Zero chance.
Appreciate you, Coach.
All right, man. Thank y'all.
All right, Coach. Yes, sir. Thank you.